So in the last episode of 2 Minute Tuesday, we covered some of the very worst advice that our buyers have received, whether it's online or on forums and Facebook and through well-intentioned people giving them advice. And so it follows on naturally that in this episode of 2 Minute Tuesday, we look at some of the worst advice that our vendors have been given as they look to sell their property. So welcome to episode 171, where we give you or warn you of the worst advice that you can possibly receive when you're looking at buying your property. Okay, off we go. So, number one on the list, I have set an astronomically high price and leave room for negotiation. Now, it might make sense in your mind in order to do so. However, and I don't mean astronomically, but people always think it's worth building a lot of fat into the deal to allow for negotiation. And the problem that you could have by doing that is that you could actually outprice the property as it is. So if you're looking at putting a property on let's say €290,000, and you think, do you know what, we're going to put it on at 325, so they feel that the buyer feels that they're going to get a great price if they negotiate it down. The problem there is that your buyer may look at the property and only ever look at properties up to 300,000 because they feel that they would never be able to afford anything above 300,000. So you're minimising the number of people that are doing that. Also, the other sort of false economy on it's now a vendor's market. 15 years or so, it's always been a buyer's market, and sort of since Brexit and COVID and things like that, it's now a vendor's market. There's a shortage of properties. Properties are selling for very close to their asking price. There aren't the huge discounts that there were in sort of 2008, 2010, when people could name a price and it would be accepted. Not the case anymore. So don't overprice your property. You'll lead to a long wait before you sell it. Okay, the next one is you can handle the sale yourself. Why do you need a real estate agent? And in fact, we've got a dedicated video on this coming up in about a month's time. But it's, where are you going to advertise your property? A lot of the property portals, the main property portals that people advertise on, will only take adverts from agents. You can put your property on Facebook, and if you've tried to sell anything on Facebook Marketplace, you'll know the amount of scam callers and people trying to rip you off and waste your time doing it. You know, put yourself in the hands of a trusted professional. Use their advertising knowledge. They know where the buyers are. They know how to attract the buyers. And although you're paying the agent, they don't get paid until they sell the property. So it's in your interest to pick the correct agent rather than going without one. But of course, I'm an estate agent, so I'm going to always say that, aren't I? Okay, next up, make major renovations before listing. The buyers will appreciate it. Now, there's a big difference between a lick of paint and a tidy up. And in one of the videos that we produced years ago, we always used to say to clients, walk through your gate, see the first impression that you get. If there's anything, if the carport needs a coat of wood stain on it, or the flower beds need tidying up, or a lick of paint on the front door, things like that, make the property look really, really nice. But major renovations, you could find out that you go and fit a new kitchen because your kitchen isn't brilliant, and it's not to the taste of the new buyer, and the first thing they do is rip it out. So look at the cosmetic things that you can do to increase the curb appeal of your property, but don't throw too much money at it, unless it of course really does need doing. But don't throw too much money at it, because it might be a false economy and it might not help your property sell quicker in any case. Okay, next up, make major renovations before listing. The buyers will appreciate it. Now, there's a big difference between a lick of paint and a tidy up. And in one of the videos that we produced years ago, we always used to say to clients, walk through your gate, see the first impression that you get. If there's anything, if the carport needs a coat of wood stain on it, or the flower beds need tidying up, or a lick of paint on the front door, things like that, make the property look really, really nice. But major renovations, you could find out that you go and fit a new kitchen because your kitchen isn't brilliant, and it's not to the taste of the new buyer, and the first thing they do is rip it out. So look at the cosmetic things that you can do to increase the curb appeal of your property, but don't throw too much money at it, unless it of course really does need doing. But don't throw too much money at it, because it might be a false economy and it might not help your property sell quicker in any case. Okay, next up, it is don't worry about property disclosures. Buyers won't notice. Now let me explain about property disclosures. If you are selling something and you are aware that there is a problem with it, you are legally obliged to inform either the agent or your lawyer or the buyers of the issue. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to repair. So let's say, for example, you've got a leak in your swimming pool. Now, if you sell your property without disclosing that there is an issue with the swimming pool, then you are benefiting financially from not disclosing that, and that is fraud. Now, you don't want to get into trouble for that. Now, if you have a problem with the pool, you have to disclose it, say, to the agent, and the agent is then legally obliged to disclose it to the lawyers and the potential buyers. It doesn't mean that you have to repair the pool. As long as the buyer is aware and they can take that into account, then it doesn't mean that you have to go to the trouble of repairing the pool, but you have to tell people about it. So if somebody says, hide it, please don't, because it will catch up with you. And if you don't disclose it, then if there is a court case, it's going to cost you dearly. And if it can be proven that the fault existed whilst you own the property and wasn't disclosed as part of the sale, it's a serious matter. So always disclose any issues, and there's always a resolution to them. Now, next up, this is one that quite a few people mention to us when they come about how properties are presented. And as an agent, I also say to clients about presenting their property. But the point is that staging your property is unnecessary. Buyers can imagine the potential of the property. Now, we're not talking about going out and hiring lots of furniture and redecorating and things like that, but go into your living room and imagine that you were a potential buyer coming and walking in. And if there's a corner that's a little bit darker, or there's a darker room, then maybe it's a good idea to put a side light on or something like that, so that it makes the room a little bit more inviting. As an agent, it's always disappointing when we walk into a house and there are no lights on in hallways, and we walk into a dark hallway, or you walk into the bathroom or the kitchen and the lights aren't on. And these are rooms that you want to wow potential buyers. So just prior to viewings and things like this, walk around and see what you would like the property to look like, and don't just sit on the sofa or by the dining room table and think that the agent will turn the lights on. You've got to wow the people when they come to the property. Okay, now the next one is a very common one, and people are told that they should wait for the market to peak before selling their property. And I have a simple question. 18 years experience selling property, I don't know when the market will peak. How do you know? And if you wait for the market to peak and your property doesn't sell, then it's on the decline. So you sell the property when you feel you want to sell it, but don't think you're going to wait for the peak, because it could cost you. Okay, this one is a little bit like the one that I mentioned before, which was set an astronomically high asking price. Well, on this one, we've got overprice, and you can always reduce later if needed. Now, the problem with this is that your property, when you put it on the market, that's the best time to sell it. It's the moment that the property is fresh on the market. So, for example, when we put it on Rightmove and A Place in the Sun, Zoopla, Prime Location, Idealist, Kiera, all the property portals, your property is up there at the top of the listings. And if you've put the price too high, you're wasting the opportunity when you've got the prime focus. Yours is the fresh property out there, and if the price is too high, people will just scroll past it. So you've got to take the advice of your agent. You've got to look at what the properties are selling for locally, and there's plenty of resources available for everybody with regards to that. But don't lose this opportunity, because when your property first hits the property market, that's when it's going to have maximum impact. And then when you start seeing reduced, it means it's too expensive, it's having trouble selling, and it's been on the market for a long time. and you don't want to do that. And finally, this is a bit of a bugbear of mine, but when people say don't bother with professional photography, it's not essential. Well, I've got a bag here in the office with thousands of pounds worth of cameras and every imaginable lens and 2 DSLR cameras and flashes and things like that. And nowadays I can take as good, if not better, photos using an iPhone. They're just that good nowadays. However, the iPhone is only as good as the person taking the photographs, and the agent's job is to ensure that they get as professional, as well lit photographs as possible, because this is what people are going to be looking at. You're here in the Hondon Valley selling your property, but there could be somebody in northern Norway or Sweden on their computer looking at it, and they want to see a beautifully lit property, professionally photographed on a sunny day. We will rarely go to somebody's house and photograph it if it's raining or grey and overcast. We want a blue pool, white villa, blue sky in the background. Maximise the impact of the photographs for your property. Photographs are the most important thing. We do photographs and we do video for the properties. We write a description, but it may well be that the people that buy your property, English isn't their first language. They don't spend as much time reading the description. Photographs sell. What is it? A photograph or a picture is 1,000 words, and it's exactly the same with a property. People spend a lot of time looking at them in great detail, so make sure you get fantastic photographs. And if the agent or whoever's advertising your property doesn't get great photographs, then tell them to come back and do them, or find another agent. So there you go. We've covered everything in this list. A bit like the one from the last episode about the bad advice for buyers. So bad advice for sellers today. So hopefully that's the end of the bad advice season, and we'll have a new episode for you of 2 Minute Tuesday in a couple of weeks. If you've got any questions or queries about anything that's in this video or about buying or selling property, then please drop me a line. My details are on the screen at the moment. And all that remains is for me to wish you a great day, and we'll look forward to seeing you for the next episode of 2 Minute Tuesday in a couple of weeks' time. Until then, adios.